Hello everybody, welcome to Projector Tester. My name is Stephen Austin. I am a senior at Apollo High School. I am the programmer and the iMovie producer on this team.
My name is Yeiser. I am the builder and data collector for the team and a freshman at Apollo High School.
Hi, my name is Karris. I'm a senior at Apollo this year, and my role on this project was the project manager, where essentially I collaborate with our STLP team and the school staff to ensure that our solution effectively solves the challenge that we're tackling. Apollo High School needed updated projectors, but the budget didn't have enough to replace all of them. So our role was to pick which 8 needed to be replaced the most based on a set criteria that we created.
Here we have our decision matrix, where we are comparing the audio and visual capabilities of VEX and Arduino, so that we can decide which to use for our first prototype. We went with VEX because it had very good visual and we already know how to program it. The upside of Arduino is that it has audio and visual. The reason we would want audio is because sometimes the projectors make a weird racket that can be distracting in the classroom. We wanted visual for sure because we wanted to know how much light it was putting out and if it was getting dim and hard to use in the classroom. So we took into account the two separate categories and came up with a total, which came out to be about even for each.
So me and my friends, we got together one night at Apollo and we were trying to figure out how exactly we were going to collect the data. And my dad mentioned a few things and I was like, well, is there a way we can get the light data, the sensor, but also it tell us like on a screen what it is so we can write it down? And he was like, yes, I know what you're talking about. And so I went and found some VEX parts and I was building something that was tall but also lightweight so I could walk around every classroom and bring it up to the projector and see the light. And so we went around I think 2 circles of Apollo High School, which is to 100 and 200, and we got all the data that night and it was pretty cool.
Welcome to the programming aspect of this project. So at the top of the code is the pragma lines. What those are they tell the computer where on the robot the sensors are, and what ports they're in, and what the sensor is. Then next, we have the integers and the variables. So what the variables are the integers that hold different numbers and lines of code and the sensor values. So next thing we're going to do with those is they're going to go to the if statement. The if statement is they takes the variables and it reads the values inside of them. And if the projector's light is a little bit too dim, then it's going to be yellow because there's a threshold that we determined is yellow, which means that the projector is starting to go bad. Then we have the red. The red is it's pretty low. Then we also have the green. The green is if it's not red and if it's not yellow. Then after that we have the lines of code that tell us the average on the displays. And then they also reset the average. So there's a button, a switch, a limit switch on the device that you click. And once you click it, then it resets all the values of the variables back down to 0. So what that does is gives us an average. Once we click the button, it starts counting and averaging. So it's always averaging. And it takes the value of one of the integers and then adds it onto the next and then divides it by another integer, which is that integer is just counting up how many times it's divided by. And so that's how we get the average. Then we can also have a pause button on here, which we programmed onto there, and what it does is when you click it, another set of variables pops up to the right of the code, or to the right of the original average and the current value. You see, we had to have the average and the pause because we wanted to get a really accurate reading, because when you have it up against the projector, the number is fluctuating so much that you can't read it. And that solved that issue. And
originally, Karris was going to do something with Arduino, so we just basically had what we had with the lights, but also for sound. But we then realized that the data that me and Stephen had was enough to make a final conclusion. And since then, we've also had COVID-19 going on, so it's been a little difficult with communication and stuff, but eventually we got it with Google Meets and group text and emails and stuff.
After measuring the quality of each projector, we also had to factor in whether or not each classroom actually used a projector and whether or not that classroom would be included in the renovation plans. We also factored in whether that teacher attended technical trainings.
So just like we said in the beginning, the entire goal of this was to have 8 teachers that need the new projectors and give it to our principal. So after about a year of hard work, we finally got that, and this is a picture of our data, and I mean, I think it looks pretty good. It was really hard, but it was also worth it. I went ahead and instead of 1 through 8, I also did 9, 10, 11, so on and so forth. But that's about it. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and I hope you guys stay safe.